What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick, Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media outside of Gillette Stadium as the Patriots are getting ready to take on the Tennessee Titans. A reminder, we're powered by Prize Picks and Game Time. Head over to Prize Picks. Use code CLNS for $50 instantly when you play $5. Head over to Game Time. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Taylor, we're talking about the Titans, but we're also talking about next Tuesday's trade deadline coming up November 5th at 4 p.m. The Patriots at 2 and 6, right now. We'll see what happens on Sunday, but it's clearly could be buyers, could be sellers, but should be active on this trade market. There's plenty of reports that they could both buy and sell. So let's talk about them potentially being buyers. Josina Anderson reported that they could be in the market for wide receivers, offensive tackles, and defensive linemen. So let's go through a couple, see what you think on each candidate. First and foremost, wide receivers, Giants, Darius Slayton. We've talked about him. We went back and forth on it on Twitter a little bit. I said I'm not a huge fan of him becoming a Patriot. Taylor seemed to have a different opinion. So talk to me a little bit about Darius Slayton, what he could bring to this offense, and what you would give up for the Giants wide receiver.
So I feel like anytime I see Darius Slayton making a big play, it's usually when he's aligned outside on the line of scrimmage, the kind of X skill set the Patriots don't have on their roster now. Obviously, we want Javon Baker to be that guy. Maybe we end up seeing him this weekend, but at the same time, he's still a rookie. You don't necessarily know that you can rely on him on a consistent basis. And also, if God forbid he goes down, then you're in a tough spot where you don't have any X receivers. Now, Kayshon Boutte filled in that role. He's had some success, but we know Jalen Polk was not a good fit for that. Hopefully, when we do see him back on the field, he's more of a Z slot type to maximize his skill set. But Darius Slayton has the explosiveness, has the size, and the skill set being able to get off press coverage to actually win in those situations consistently. The kind of guy that would be perfect for Drake May. Everybody that wanted Tez Walker in the draft, Darius Slayton is what you would pray that Tez Walker becomes at some point. So I would be willing to give up probably more of like a fifth or later, something like that for Slayton. If it was a fourth round pick and maybe you can get something back from the Giants like a sixth or a fifth as well, I'd be okay with that, but really more of a later day 3 pick. I don't want to give up the farm, especially because he is on an expiring contract, but it can also be a situation where, hey, they see how he looks in the system, he plays well with Drake May, and they wind up extending him and have the advantage of already having him in-house with the system.
Yeah, for sure. Getting a future 6th-round pick in return for Josh Uche, you could spend something like that back for Slayton. Clearly more valuable than Josh Uche is for this team right now, but I wouldn't give up anything more than a day 3 pick. I'm with you there. All right, let's move on to another X receiver in Mike Williams. He is on the New York Jets right now, but Devontae Adams comes in and basically takes his place in that Jets offense. He is rumored to be on the market in New York. Someone who has had some injury history, was back and forth with the Chargers a couple times, a couple knee injuries as well. So would you give up anything for Mike Williams?
So with any of these trade candidates, the way I see it is you need to bring people in who aren't just going to be stopgaps. Like, this team probably isn't making the playoffs. They're not like the Vikings where, you trade for Christian Darrisaw, Christian Darrisaw goes down. Sure. You trade for Cam Robinson because you are a team that might make the playoffs and you need a true starting caliber player. I'm not sure that's where the Patriots are right now. I think what they need is someone they could bring in who they could potentially keep long term, again, through an extension like a Darius Slayton. Mike Williams would be on this team for 1 season. He's not going to be here next year. Frankly, both times the Jets and the Patriots have played, I forgot that Mike Williams existed. Not to be disrespectful, but he's an aging veteran. Obviously, like you said, injuries have been a concern. Sorry, I have no interest in Mike Williams.
All right, let's talk about one more X receiver then who also has had some injury concerns, but that's T. Higgins, someone who was franchise tagged by the Cincinnati Bengals this past offseason, is on that 1-year deal, only would be here for a half a season, but is going to cost a little more. I would say more like a day 2 pick, with the idea that you would likely sign him to a long-term extension, whether when he gets here or this coming off season. Would you go for T. Higgins to add to this offense with the idea, again, that he would be a long-term solution?
If Higgins didn't have the injury concerns, I'd probably feel a little more differently, because if he didn't have the injury concerns, then yeah, that's a true X-type receiver. You could plug into the offense and has the kind of skill set that, once again, does gel with Drake May. But I don't know. If you're talking about a day 2 pick, you can use that. Obviously, draft picks are lottery picks, and I want to make that very clear. Just because you spend a day 3 pick on, or a day 2 pick on a receiver, doesn't mean that guy's necessarily going to work out. With that said, I also just don't think that T. Higgins, if you're going to extend him already, you know he's going to be a free agent after this season. That's the kind of situation where I'm saying, you know what, he's probably going to want a lot of money, and because you have to give up significant capital versus a Darius Slayton where I'm more comfortable because it would be a day 3 pick, I just don't know that I want to bite on that one.
All right, let's move on to offensive tackles, another position that the Patriots are rumored to be in on. Now, they have shored up that offensive line a little bit. Vidarian Lowe was back last week. Did not practice on Wednesday, was back on the field on Thursday, so it sounds like he is going to be back in the lineup, and they have sort of, like I said, shored that thing up. It's looked a lot better over the last several weeks, but you still want to improve there. You may end up using your first-round pick on one of these guys next year, but in trading for someone, would you look at a guy like Braden Smith from the Colts? 6'6", over 300 pounds, just signed a long-term 4-year, $72 million with the team, $72 million deal with the team a couple years ago. Someone who is rumored to be on the trade block out of Indy. Would you go for a guy like him here?
I don't think so, mostly because of his skill set. Braden Smith is a good player, but he doesn't have very long arms and he doesn't have very big hands. If you look at every player the Patriots have brought in to play on the offensive line, length and big hands are two of the common factors of Scott Peters' strike system. A big part of that is being the first one to make contact. That's tough to do when you got short arms and not very big hands, because it's not just making contact, but it's making forceful contact. So again, Braden Smith is a good player, and I understand some fans may push back and say, well, you don't need all the metrics necessarily, the measurables. You need a guy with experience. But I think for them, it's more valuable to get a guy like Trey Jacobs, who does fit what they want, has been in the system, has been with Scott Peters now for months. He has a bit more of an advantage, even though he doesn't have quite the same level of skill. I think they'd want to roll with that rather than give up what would probably be, like a 4th-round pick, I would think, for Braden Smith, because quality offensive linemen are tough to find. I don't think you'd be able to pry him away for something like a late day 3 pick.
All right, one more offensive lineman. It's Joe Noteboom in L.A., someone who is coming off injured reserve for the Rams. He's been with L.A. for quite some time now, but is also rumored to be on the trade block. They've had some offensive line issues on their own this year, so I kind of find it surprising that they would give him up. But is Joe Noteboom someone who you would go after for the Patriots?
Everything about his profile is a red flag. Like you said, they're already struggling on the offensive line. He's coming off a significant injury, which is not the time I think you'd want to trade for an offensive lineman. And then, once again, kind of like Braden Smith, measurables-wise, he doesn't check out. He doesn't have the arm length or the hand size. So when you put that all together, it doesn't seem like a very good candidate for the Patriots.
All right, one final trade candidate here for the Patriots, Azeez Ojulari, an edge rusher for the Giants. Patriots just get rid of Joshua Uche, someone off of the edge. Ojulari in New York, just 24 years old, is also on the trade block for that team in New York. But it sounds like, I know you had mentioned earlier, that they're going to be looking for a little bit more on the block for him, not just a late-day pick or a late-round pick, excuse me. So would you bite the bullet and go try and get Ojulari out of New York?
I don't know. I think with the Patriots, they mentioned Anthony Jennings. Right. He was playing on 3rd downs, which usually he's only an early down player. DeMarcus Covington said he's growing as a leader on the defense. I feel like a bigger role for him makes more sense now. I do like Azeez Ojulari. He's a guy who can play on the field on every down. Not a great player necessarily, but someone the Giants clearly like. And again, who does give you that every down versatility. And he's already worked with Drew Wilkins, so there's some familiarity there. If you could get him for like a 4th or a 5th round pick, I'd consider it. But if they're talking about, yeah, we want a 3rd, I'm not biting on that, because as tough as it is with the depth concerns for New England, I just don't know that you need to give up that kind of capital when you could use that to end up getting somebody. Again, it's a lottery pick, but I feel like you'd probably be better off drafting some kind of situational pass rusher than you would getting another starter when you, especially on early downs, you already have Jelani Tavai as one outside linebacker a lot of the time. Then on the other side, you have Anthony Jennings. I would like them to bring in someone who maybe Keon White doesn't have to play quite as much on early downs, but even still, I feel like they know they're going to take their lumps with Keon White as a young player against the run. He'll learn, he'll grow hopefully. So I like Azeez Ojulari, but it would have to be at the right price, which doesn't sound like what the Giants are looking for.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Patriots 2-6 heading into Week 9. Trade deadline next Tuesday, November 5th at 4 p.m. We'll see if they are active. Rumor has it they will be, so we'll see if they end up getting anybody else out of here or if they bring anybody in. Keep it here on Patriots Press Pass. We'll have all of your Patriots coverage. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the channel, like this video, and also read all of our written work at clnsmedia.com.